still kind of looking at the weather things this weekend in terms of like game times and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I've learned anything so far is, take the information, make a decision, try to make it as late as you possibly can, but giving people enough notice. And so, yeah, we're still kind of working through it, I guess. Yeah. Sorry.
It's
tough.
hard to know.
Yeah, it is tough.
Days out.
Yeah.
When conference play starts, we're always going to ask about like a ramp up in emphasis or attention.
Yeah.
And for you guys, especially when you're running well, it's really trying to maintain a course like this. So how do you prepare guys that haven't seen SEC play, but also not overemphasize, get over your skis?
I think the things that this team does well, if they continue to do those well, then they can find success. And I think not attaching or adding anything to how we play is a really important staple of any program that I'm involved with. Now, with that being said, there's a recognition that the competition level in our league is superior to everywhere in college baseball. And that's awesome, because when you have good players that are confident and talented, that usually brings out the best in them. And that's what I'm excited, for league play. Other than that, it's really business as usual. And that's with great respect for what's coming our way this weekend and beyond.
I feel like the schedule you guys have already played has prepared you well for this.
The last couple of years, I've tried to get like an extra game in prior to league play starting. And I don't know that really, helped or hurt, in terms of last year. I think in terms of this year, I think playing 10 games over the last 2 weeks has been good. You kind of just have to get to the next thing and be prepared, and keeps everybody moving. And that's kind of what happens here in league play. Like, whether we play great or don't play great this weekend, next weekend's coming, and you have to be able to move on. And I've always felt mastering the art of being able to move on, good or bad. I got some advice from one of the coaches in the league, kind of indirectly, before I came here, and I just listened to something he had said about playing in the SEC, of not making too big a deal of success or failure as you're going through it. And the one positive about it being so tough is you always kind of have a chance if you just stay together. And we did that last year. One of the things I'm as proud of is in my time here is sticking with it through that tough, 3 or 4 weeks and coming out on the positive side of it. And I thought that was good advice that I really leaned into last year. And, whether it's going great, I think we won 6 and tied one of the first 7 series in 23, but we kind of just kept going, hit a little adversity and you just kind of keep going. So I'm careful not to label too much of it.
Did you learn what you needed to, I guess, throughout non-conference play about your pitching and just kind of how you want to dial that up?
Yeah, I think that's always evolving, and it's just, again, I've said this before, with players of the age like we coach and with the experience level that they have or they don't have, I think drawing too many hard conclusions, you have to be careful of that. So I try not to do that. With that being said, you see things that allow you to project a little bit better. And just with the players, the more experience they get, the better prepared they are for certain things and situations. And I do feel good about knowing what we have. And I said that before we started the season, and that's played out to be true. You're going to get bloodied a little bit, as you go through this thing. And I think our response to some of the adversity that we've had, whether the one game that we lost, excellent response to that. Been down in a few games, excellent response to those. Getting a lead, extending the lead, excellent response there. So I see some things that make me optimistic, but you kind of have to keep reinvesting and doing those things.
Kind of along those lines, I heard what you said this morning about Schmidt and just kind of how you might think it might be the last time he pitches in midweeks. Just what about him in a weekend role do you really like? Is it going to be kind of that closer, or do you think he's somebody that can go 2, 3, 4 innings in the middle?
I think he's just one of our best guys. Like that's just all I really meant by that.
Yeah.
And he's done great against our team, and he's done great in early season competition, and you know, I'm always working really hard to make sure these guys are healthy, improving, they're slotted and set up for success. And now we're at a point where we were able to do that. I don't want to say perfectly, but we did it in a way where he has a lot under his belt through 4 weeks of his college career in terms of his pitch counts high. He's been in relief in a high leverage, I don't want to call it a hostile environment because it was mostly like our fans, but in a high charge environment, and just like really like his makeup, you know. So he's ready to add into the mix of this thing, and it's just been difficult, like with so many games in a close amount of time, to like totally, you know, line it up and peg it up. But I had a plan. I feel like we executed the plan. He executed the plan. He's just ready to go.
Same weekend rotation?
Yes, yeah, same rotation.
Same order?
Same order, yep.
You talked about getting bloodied a little bit, and I think of those three guys, and they've all had like moments where they had to kind of overcome a little bit of adversity. Anthony probably more than most, but like, just how important is that for what's ahead of them and their ability to handle it and move forward?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think a couple things are in play with that. You know, in regards to Anthony, his tremendous pitchability. So when he finds a groove, he can be really tough to deal with because the hitter has to cover a lot. So that allows him always a chance. There's a way to get outs for him. It's just, you know, the other teams that we play have good players, you know, that are focused and they have scouting reports and all those things. And, you know, it's not going to go perfect. I mean, after the fifth hitter of the game, I don't think he gave up a hit last week. And, I mean, that was as good a performance for that stretch as I've seen in a while. So I think he's a good athlete. He's a good competitor. He's got the skills necessary to get outs. When you combine that, you have a really good pitcher. And, you know, I think staying right in the head is a term that I use. Like, I have confidence of Anthony always staying right in the head.
Not him specifically, but just the ability to face a little bit of adversity but still have a positive outcome.
100%, yeah. And, you know, keeping things small is really important, you know. Keeping yourself within striking distance if you're behind, and then adding on if you're ahead. That's two qualities, again, it'll be tested more, but that I've seen really good positive outcomes for our team. Tested, response. Ahead, continuing to play. And you just have to do that. And, you know, I still want to be the first one to go like 70-0 sometimes. And, you know, it's just not how the game's built, you know. So I've seen some really good mental things that I think are transferable to league play, are transferable to higher levels of competition or difficulty. That has me optimistic. They have to maintain that character, though.
But that lineup that you have seems to be finding it's settling in, I guess, and finding, you know, guys settling in their spots.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, like we have, you know, a good 14 or 15 guys that I'm comfortable starting or playing at any time. You know, there's a reason for everything. And, you know, I think I said this, I don't remember which one of you asked me, like, every day the goal is to set the team up to win the game. And there's been maybe a little bit more consistency in what that's looked like. It's still very game to game. Again, you're facing different pitchers, different bullpens, you know, different types of offensive strategy that may impact who you want to play defensively out of certain teams. And so there's still an element of that, but like we're just really trying to communicate what we need the player to do. And, you know, we've had a relative consistent group of guys maybe over the last 4 or 5 games that I feel like they've done what we've asked them to do well. And so that's good. You know, if one of them went down, somebody else has to be ready to do that job, and then we have to communicate it to them.
One thing you said the other day was interesting about Jacob, and if he can get to the level you think he can get to, you guys are a completely different team.
Yeah.
What does that team look like?
Well, he has no hits, like, I mean, like on the season, meaning he's just tough to hit. Our guys had a tough time hitting him. And, you know, just as you start to pare this down now to 4 games per week, which is great. I love to play, so I loved the 5-game week and getting ready and all those types of things. But, you know, kind of like we've done a little bit offensively, getting those pitchers lined up in spots for them to do what they can do. Like, I mean, I don't know how many pitchers have, had as much success as he has over 2 years in college over the last couple years. And, the other night, those first 2 hitters, it's just lights out. It can't be any better, honestly. And so I think more opportunities are coming for him, and I have a lot of faith in him. And I like what I'm seeing out of him, and it's another bullet. And then as you shorten a game a week per se, and then you add a bullet with, with that, having more guys available, I'm excited about that.
We talked to Beth yesterday about kind of a similar deal. They played more tournament style early in the non-con. She says like SEC plays allows them to narrow their scout a lot more. Is that you have better tape? You have maybe quality scout?
I think more games you get into the season, you have more.
Okay.
I found myself a little longer into that yesterday, not necessarily because it's conference, but because there's a little more to look at, which is a good thing. And that obviously works both ways. But I like simplifying things. I like challenging the team and the staff, with at least one tournament per year, like we do in Frisco, because that's the postseason. And then it's tiring, a little bit for everybody involved in that. But I think it makes us better when you get down to one team on the weekend, as a staff. And, the coaches have done a good job so far. And I know we're supposed to win every game that we play, but, the effort into winning the games has been a really good effort by everybody on the staff.
How's
I know
Gavin
the way
doing?
How's Gavin doing?
Yeah.
Good. He's doing good. So we haven't had practice yet today. So as I said the other day, today's a important day, to see how he responds and recovers. And again, I don't mean to sound snippy when I talk about injuries, and it's nothing they're not controllable per se. I just always want to keep the focus on the field. And so I'm not trying to hide anything or anything. I just always want to keep the focus of what's happening on the field. I mean, we need him, obviously. Those relief pitchers that are a part of a lot of wins for our team, those guys are really important to me. Riley Cooper could do no wrong, in my eyes. Gavin Guidry can do no wrong in my eyes because they're so valuable at those tough spots. But trust me, there's nobody that's trying to get them out there more than I am. So
I know you like to focus on your team, but opening up against Missouri, this pitching staff has struggled, but their bats kind of can keep them in
yeah,
line.
I see talent on the mound too as I'm looking at that. Again, it's very easy if you're not in the weeds to just label somebody as something, but things aren't always as they seem. Ian Loesch is a really good pitcher that we're facing tomorrow. I think he had a couple or 2 or 3 scoreless innings against us last year. Has a good style that he pitches to. Tim Jameson, the pitching coach there, was the longtime head coach when you're talking about Scherzer and Aaron Crow and that really good run that Missouri had. I think they were in a super regional mid-2000 to 2010s, whatever you call that. Carrick's a good coach. Obviously, you guys all know that. They have a style of play, and it's going to be a good challenge.
Have you gotten to know them? I think we asked you last year.
Yeah,
Before,
just in the coaches' meetings, those are interesting, those SEC coaches' meetings that we have. And, he's very smart. He dives right in, and he serves on a lot of committees that affect college baseball and has a lot of good insight and is a good critical thinker, and you can tell that by how they're running their program. I anticipate them getting better.
Do you see the scouting background kind of come through?
Oh yeah, they have talented guys, and they've one of my. He's not playing; he's hurt, but they have one of my former players from Arizona is on the team, and somebody you might have missed if you hadn't really worked hard in the portal, but was a good ad. I mean, I think he would beat us last year, on Saturday up there. So I anticipate them being pretty good this year, and I anticipate them continuing to get better as a program.
With Tanner Reeves, we talked to him the other night about he talked about sort of the importance of keeping his feet moving at third base and that being sort of just from. What are some other things you guys have worked on with him at third base to sort of get him used to that position?
Yeah, come get the ball. I think you're so close to the play a lot. Like, I think I'll never be upset with an infielder for being aggressive and coming and getting the ball. The other two things you have to do at third, because you're closer to the plays, you have to play wider and you have to play lower. And for a guy that, played middle infield and outfield predominantly, that's a little bit of a new feel. I anticipate him continuing to get better as we go.
We've talked about your lineup, this is what we have today, this is what I envision it getting to. At this point of the season, are you seeing some of those things come to fruition in terms of your vision?
Yeah, I think just the execution of the at-bats is kind of maybe more important than anything else. I mean, I've heard football coaches say it's about players, not about plays, and that's kind of my version of saying what I'm trying to say of, it's the Derek Curiel's quality of bats to get on base. So then Jared Jones, is going to get a pitch to hit because somebody's always on base. And then, Dickinson, really taking mature at bats. He's a really good two-strike hitter. So you have to work to get him out after a really good hitter. Then the experience of Josh Pearson, Milam, really good with runners on base, and just kind of on and on and on, and again, like that'll be tested more, but I think executing what we're trying to, the consistency of that has been pretty good so far.
We've talked a lot about how the guy behind Jared is really important to protect him in the order, but do you think we're not talking about the guy in front of Jared enough? Because, like you said, if a guy's on base, then they have to pitch to him.
Yeah. Are you talking about we've talked about it? Or
No, just
yeah.
in general. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what everybody's talking about, but yeah, I mean, I think, again, just, the goal is to score runs, and scoring runs requires getting on base. If you get on base, then there's a lot more problems for the pitcher, with pitching with traffic.
When you guys get off to a hot start like you did against Xavier a few days ago, how impactful is that just to the mentality of everybody, especially going into SECs?
Yeah, I thought, try to learn something out of everything, and I just think the approach to that game was really good. And that's something I'm really proud of the players to this point so far, is like respecting what they have to do to be prepared to play. And I thought that was a very good example of that. And, some really good performances by guys in that game on the mound, in the field. We talked about Jacob. Really liked how Maverick Rizzi threw the ball. Really liked how Jaden Newt threw the ball. I mean, those guys are really talented. And they're getting better, and Coach Eski's doing a good job with those guys. So, just learning on making it about what's important. It's great that it's conference, but the fact that it's conference has nothing to do with, how we play, So I think it was a good learning experience they were really prepared to play on Tuesday.
You guys have leaned on Louise a little bit more,
Yeah.
probably than I think we all expected. What's he doing right to earn that trust?
I'm not really, only from the standpoint of, I was really excited to get Luis here and knew he'd be an integral part of our team. I think he's caught great. The pitchers do a good job holding the ball, picking. Coach Eski's the master at that. They get the ball to the plate timely, and he's got a strong, accurate arm. I think he receives great. I think he's, I can pick to several pitches that were probably called strikes by him doing a quality job receiving. He does a great job with the pitcher-catcher rapport. I like going out to the mound and, hearing some of his feedback to the pitcher at that time or in the dugout. And then, starting to continue to take, more quality at bats. He's a really good hitter. So I'm not surprised at all and really happy that he's here.
With Luis, you said you guys were, I guess, almost pleasantly surprised when he first came in, given how, I guess, ready he was defensively on day one. What were some of those things that sort of jumped out to you?
I think he gets in position to receive the ball well. It's a guy that you could tell has played a lot of baseball and knows the game and adds a lot to the table from what I would call a head and a heart standpoint, which behind the plate, that's really important. If you have the wrong person back there, even with the right skill set, your team and your pitching staff can't be as good as it needs to be. And he's the right person. From a person standpoint, I couldn't have picked a better person to bring into this team this year for what we needed.
Is Cade coming along at the rate you want?
Oh yeah, I thought he's caught great on Friday for a few innings. I thought he caught great on Sunday for 6 innings, and then he caught good the other night. And so, yeah, and I think Coach Jordan really works hard at that. Luis deserves a lot of credit for that too. They've done a nice job with him and Blaze and Eddie. It's a cool group thing, like where they're all helping each other. And as a coach, you really like to see that.
When you're able to roll out a pitcher like Chase on a Sunday game, I mean, it could be for a sweep or for winning a series in the SEC. Just what does that do, I guess, for your, mindset or just having somebody like that? 'Cause
Yeah,
it hasn't always been like that, I guess, over the last.
Yeah,
3 years.
and I mean, hey, again, this deal is a challenge, and it will be a challenge, in those games. And it has a lot to do with more than just who the pitcher is that day. But it does make me excited and optimistic every time he takes the mound. But it's the same for everybody. Last year, I remember running into Caglione on Sunday, and I think it was Carter Holton, for Vanderbilt. Looked like a major leaguer that day pitching on Sunday. So it's just, it's a tough league. Guys like Chase Shores are not running out on Sunday anywhere else in the country, for us or our opponents.
You mentioned Maverick Rossi a little bit earlier, and I think you mentioned before that you wanted to see some things sort of click a little bit more in place for him. What were your sort of?
I think he just needs time and experience, and I tell the players all the time, you have my full permission to improve, and I want to, it's not Disneyland. It's not perfect all the time. We have to use, you mentioned the catching the other day, we have to use that experience to make us better. Totally happened. He's had a couple outings. We put him in 5-2 against Kansas State, who's probably a regional team, when we're ahead. So I really have faith in Maverick. And so he just needs more of that. And I think the more of that he gets, the better he's going to be. I thought that was really electric the other night, and I'm excited for him to keep going like that.
Speaking of going like that, Danny running hot right now. I guess I see him being a fan favorite if that continues, with the hearing and the whole
Yeah.
thing. Right? So just what is he doing well to kind of keep it in between the lanes and moving in the right direction?
I think they're more a fan of how he plays than what he wears or tattoos that he have, which I'm totally okay with all that stuff, as long as he is who he is as a person and as a player, which is exceptional. Not a surprise to me that, and I maybe don't notice some of those things, but not a surprise to me that, him or a Luis or a Chris Stanfield would be a fan favorite, just based on how they play. And for him, he has really good tools, as you can see: hit, power, defense, running speed, but how he attacks baseball is the separator for him, and that's really all he needs to do.
Kind of like Steven last year.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Hey, one more.
With Tanner and Michael, how do you kind of balance who plays when?
Yeah, it's just what's set the lineup to win that day, or set the game up. Maybe not the lineup's not even the right word, but set the game up to win that day, and that will continue to happen, as we go forward here, and that's good, and that's okay. We've had a lot of successful games where they've kind of split the game, you'll see that, and you'll see one game where one guy probably goes the whole time and another guy goes the whole time, either the next game or the next appropriate game, for that. So it's not a straight line answer of certain type of pitcher or anything like that. We need both of them. All right, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.